All right, the Detroit Lions, yeah, they made a sneaky good move. You know, it's that time of year where you make veteran signings. You try and bolster your roster a little bit. The Detroit Lions have not been as active this year as they have been in years past. At least I don't feel like they have been. But with OTAs coming up, at the end of the week, they just signed a veteran linebacker to add to an already stacked linebacker room. Why I think this actually could be a really smart move, if I'm being completely honest. Not just that, but they had to let somebody go in a corresponding move because our roster is pretty darn full. So we're going to talk all about that. If you're new to this channel, my name is Craig. Me and my buddy Chris started this channel. It has to be over 4 years ago now. Just talking Detroit Lions football, trying to give unbiased, even though we do love ourselves, the Lions, try and give that positive news. I've talked about how easy it is to be positive over the last couple of years, but it wasn't that way in the beginning. It wasn't always that way, you know, if you're a Lions fan. So let's go ahead and talk about this move that the Detroit Lions made and find out just a little bit about who this guy is, and I'll take a little bit of a deeper dive as well. All right. Hey, look, I'm over on the right. Hey, the Detroit Lions have shared that they have reportedly signed Zack Cunningham. Who is Zack Cunningham? Zack Cunningham is a guy that was a second-round pick. He started his career, the first 4 or 5 years of his career, with the Houston Texans, played a couple of years in Tennessee, and then started all of 2023 for the Eagles, and most recently the Denver Broncos. Now, he has made 102 game appearances, 86 starts over his career. He's been around. He's mostly a starter for the Eagles 2 years ago. He got 85 tackles, 4 passes defended, a fumble recovery. However, last year spent much of the season on the Broncos practice squad before signing to the team's active roster in the final 2 months of the season. This is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what he did with Denver and what it could look like in Detroit. But remember, and it says here, this is a great spot to look at it, but I'm going to show you in a different spot. When you look at our linebacker room, all right, Zack Cunningham, newest addition, Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone, Grant Stewart, Ezekiel Turner, Anthony Pittman, Derek Barnes, Duron Gilbert, Malcolm Rodriguez. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 linebackers. 3 of those guys will be either cut or on the practice squad. So, with that being said, I want to get into where I think Zack Cunningham could fit, but first I want to talk about who he is as a player. We are going to get into where he fits. He's 30 years old. He will be 30 years old, all right, for the entirety of the season. Yes, that is getting up there for a linebacker, but this dude has been around the block, and he has been a good player. His season high in tackles is 122 back in 2019. All right, back in 2019. Those are so low. All right, he had 30 assisted tackles. All right, that's not bad. Now, PFF does not do half tackles, so just factor that into consideration. All right, when he was going down, had a resurgence year with the Eagles, and then in Denver, it was kind of like, all right, like the guy's not going to play a lot. But when he played, even over the last 2 years, whether it was in Philly or in Denver, he was a solidly graded linebacker. Whether you're talking about run defense, whether you're talking about coverage, it does not matter. He was a solid player. Now, with that being said, he is not going to be one of these guys that you can put on the edge and rush the passer. It's not going to happen. But he can absolutely drop back in coverage without a problem. He can absolutely drop back in coverage without a problem. So now let's go ahead and let's take a look again back at what I think, and I want to explain this in the Denver Broncos sort of way too, and what they had to do with them. Again, this is our linebacker room. I will zoom in even more for you so you can see the names really, really big. All right, a couple years ago, last year, injuries happened. All right, Derek Barnes out for the year. Malcolm Rodriguez out for the year. Alex Anzalone, broken forearm, out for what, 5, 6, 7 weeks, something like that, until the playoffs came along. So we were out there running with Ezekiel Turner, guys like, Deron Gilbert didn't play much, right? But other guys that you don't even remember. Adrian Beauplan was one of them, who we just released for Zack Cunningham. Here's the reason I don't hate the signing. This is a guy that you could probably stick on your practice squad if you want. But when I look at this, when I look at guys as far as playing during the game, I'm not talking special teams. I'm talking about during the game. Ezekiel Turner did not stack up. Anthony Pittman, in-game situations, did not stack up as an effective linebacker. Deron Gilbert did not stack up as an effective linebacker. Now, am I confident in Rodriguez? Yes, but will he be healthy to start the year? Unlikely. So this loaded linebacker room, all of a sudden you realize, like, oh, wow, if we don't hold on to Gilbert, if we don't hold on to Turner, Zack Cunningham makes this roster if we keep 6 linebackers, because Rodriguez is going to start the year on the PUP or on the IR. You've got, if Gilbert, Pittman, and I lost track of thought there. So Campbell, Anzalone, Rodriguez. After them, it's Grant Stewart. It's Derek Barnes. That's it. All right, it's actually Campbell, Anzalone, Barnes. After him right now, because Rodriguez is hurt, it's Grant Stewart. Who else do you trust greatly after that? You need a guy like Zack Cunningham on your team. You need a guy like this. Because if you have a guy like Zack Cunningham, he can go in and he can play, and it's not embarrassing. It's not bringing a guy in on a, short term. You're bringing him in for 1 week to play. We saw our team do that, and we saw how these linebackers got burned. You have a defensive coordinator that comes from the linebacker position. He's looking at this room and saying, I need more quality depth. Yes, this is a linebacker room that runs 5 deep already. All right, honestly, it does. When you look at when you look at Campbell, Anzalone, Barnes, Rodriguez, and Stewart, it runs 5 deep already, but Rodriguez is hurt. So you're bringing in Zack Cunningham. And I'm telling you right now, this is one of those kind of little moves where it's like, all right, we bring in an old veteran guy. We get rid of a guy who doesn't have the skills, maybe. All right, whatever. It's a no-nonsense move. It's late May. Who cares? I care. I think you should care too, because what this team has experienced in injuries, that 6th linebacker will have at least one game where they have to come in and play almost the whole game, and you're going to have to rely on them to cover the opposing team's tight end or to fill in the run game or do whatever it is that they have to do. And with the schedule that we have and the gauntlet that we have, you need someone who can come in and do it effectively, because you don't want that win to turn to a loss. All right, thanks for watching. Hopefully you keep seeing this stuff. We're bringing you all the news from the big to the small. Hopefully you enjoy the channel. If you do, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.